Right, so here we go, all the people out there. Let's do another commentary on Dad's Army. This will be the Deadly Attachment, so get your DVDs out. This is series... God, what series? The Series 6, Episode 1. So get your DVD of Series 6 out. If you want to join along with me while I warble all over this, like and subscribe. And we'll get on the episode page of the DVD, The Deadly Attachment. This is Season 6, Episode 1 of Dad's Army. So, in 3, 2, 1 we'll play. So, 3, 2, 1, play. Here we go. With the Bud Flanagan music. Which was recorded by Bud Flanagan, especially for the series. It wasn't a period song. I know everyone thinks it was some kind of war song, but it wasn't. Apparently Bud Flanagan was a guy who did sing these sort of songs in the war, or around that time, you know, the Siegfried Line or that lark. But Bud Flanagan was getting towards the end of his life, I think, when he recorded this for the series, and of course it's immortalised here forever as Dad's Army's theme song. Written by whoever that was then, David Croft and Jimmy Perry and David Croft. Don't know who wrote The Deadly Attachment. There we go, that's the title card. And we'll start most episodes with Captain Manwaring. It's spelled like that, but said Mannering. It's a bouquet bucket type thing, I think. Arthur Lowe there playing the role he didn't really want to play, according to how he took the contracts. He wouldn't even have the scripts in the house, apparently, because he thought it was so much rubbish he wouldn't have the scripts in the house. But of course, the masterstroke of Dad's Army is they flip the characters here. Captain Mannering is the officer, and John Le Mesurier there behind him is the sergeant, when really Le Mesurier would be the captain and Mannering would be the sergeant. Clive Dunn there speaking at the minute as Corporal Jones. Of course, made up to be a lot older than he actually was. I think he was 50s at the time, made to look about 70. Or even older than that. He looks about blooming 90. But and then there's a corporal behind him just listening to him. You see, he was just making up the numbers at this point because we'd lost Private Walker. I suppose I should have done an earlier episodes, but it's one of my favourite. Although it might still be there, I'm not actually sure. It's been a while since I've watched this. Just doing the information over the... well, there's John Le Mesurier. I think he might have been ill at this time, Series 6. He used to drink, was married to Hattie Jakes. Yeah. And, of course, he's always guiding Mannering, who ignores him. And, of course, Arthur Lowe here doing the old ginger hair thing. I think he gave up on that later on when the series was coming towards an end. I think sort of midway through, so we're really flying at the moment with episodes. I picked this one. Oh, Pike, played by Ian Lavender. Very good. As in Carry On Behind, and a few sort of, you know, those confessions type movies. And I should have done my research before just throwing myself into this. Oh, the Walker is there, so he's not. Of course, being that this is a load of older men, Private Walker, played by James Beck, was a big drinker and died probably not long after this due to alcohol consumption. Probably, you know, I think he let's have a look. Yeah, have a look. But you know, I like to inform. But anyway, Clive Dunn was born in 1870, and being that this is 1940, he's supposed to be 60. Yes, no, 70, and he looks really a lot older than that, but of course he's made up because he's basically doing stunts. and they needed a younger man to do the stuff. Even though they had Ian Lavender playing Pike, I don't think they knew how he'd work out. So they needed an experienced actor, and he played older parts before. They were going to use David Jason, I think, Del Boy from Only Fools and Horses, and get him to age up. But eventually they just used him as a bargaining chip so they could get Clive Dunn into it. And Clive Dunn played Corporal Jones throughout. Fraser is played by John Laurie, who also wasn't mad keen on the subject matter. Oh, here we go. Yes, they're going to be told to look after a bunch of U-boat soldiers, which is their mission for the week. It's probably one of their best missions. Just imagine that this program on its initial run was massively popular, but it rerun in the 90s, which is when I saw it, and it used to be on just around the time of like Noel's House Party and Generation Game. But before you'd go out, I mean, I was like young in those days, so obviously I'll be going out, but be having a few drinks, watching Dad's Army, and that had a massive hit. It was a massive hit. They repeated it on BBC One around the time of like Lois and Clark. This is sort of early, 94, 93, 94, the golden years for me, if you like, of being a young chap. And before I went out for a Saturday night, we'd have Dad's Army, Generation Game, Lois and Clark, all those, Baywatch, all those programmes would be on before. And of course, just before you go out, you'd have a good drink, get stuck in, and you watch a bit of Dad's Army, and this is one of my favourite episodes. So they're going to be looking. They've been told they're going to be looking after. And there's now is Arthur here, Wilson, the sergeant on the left. Is he Pike's actual father? Because he's been living with Mrs. Pike, or sort of, forever. They're not married, so we're going to assume that Frank Pike there is the son of. But it's always left grey because this is the war, and even the 70s on British TV, which was when this was filmed. But even then, even with all your Love Thy Neighbours and crass comedy like that, this more wholesome comedy, they still wouldn't talk about living in sin, if you will, or not being married when you had a kid. I don't know where Mrs. Pike's husband ever was, if ever was explained. It might have been explained, but he's never there. And of course, John Le Mesurier was perfect in this part because he always had good ideas, and but he was a very relaxed, laid-back soldier, and he wasn't really interested in this. Because Captain Mannering was the bank manager, and the sergeant there was the assistant manager. Basically, they have the same role in the platoon here, and here they come. Here comes the Deadly Attachment under heavy guard, and that's Philip Maddock there in the middle. Handy hop, don't panic. All the stuff from Corporal Jones, who is, like I say, in his 50s and made up to look 75. He's still hocking. But of course, this is like a stage. This is like a 3-camera setup, like a soap opera now, like EastEnders or something like that. So the camera's at the front and the audience is at the front, but it's filmed like that. Philip Maddock, great actor in the middle. Might know him from loads of programmes of film. He's been in comedies, films. He's done a lot of Doctor Who, classic. He was the war guy in the War Games. The guy who's zapped out of it, the leader of the baddies. The Warlord, I suppose. And he was also, I saw him in a play in London. He did Measure for Measure in the 90s. Can't say it was the greatest Shakespeare play, but he was very good. He remembered his lines, didn't make any mistakes. And he was also in The Brain of Morbius, but he was in the movie of the Doctor Who Invasion of Earth with Peter Cushing. Where he does a great part here. It was married to Ruth Maddock of Heidi High fame. Didn't really like Heidi High, but I think that had something to do with some of the writers of this. And of course, this is in the hall. He's got a massive gun there. My friend will be able to tell you all about that. I have a guy, my best friend, he does war stuff, and he knows all about the Second World War, which is why I'm also doing this. But I love Dad's Army anyway. It's classic. I should have got him in on the commentary so he could give you war background and where this. I think this is set in 1940. I'm not sure when Dad's army was actually. And of course, Philip Maddock, as the U-boat commander, is going to make all kinds of demands here. He wants some fish and chips, which is odd. The Geneva Convention. Prisoner of wars will not be in humiliating position. They don't like it up 'em. They don't like it up 'em. And I suppose there was a Geneva Convention, prisoner of wars had to be, and he's trying to shove it up him. And of course, Arthur Lowe, being Captain Mainwaring, didn't like the scripts. Oh, he says he didn't. When of course, I think he was. These scripts are well done. They're well made. Private Walker's going to get fish and chips for him in a bit. And anyway, Arthur Lowe had a very long career of it. But really, I mean, he was a private in the war. I mean, he started in Coronation Street. He played a sort of factory keeper, I think, manager of the factory. And originally, the first choice for Mainwaring was John Pertwee, known as the Third Doctor in Classic Who, and also Wurzel Gummidge, various other things. But he was an original choice to play Captain Mainwaring, and refused it because he was in a stage show in America. He was in the West End stage show, and he refused. He sort of turned it down. And of course, Arthur Lowe would have been. I mean, it would have been totally different with Pertwee. I mean, I think it would have played because I mean, him and John Le Mesurier look similar. Really, if you look at John Le Mesurier and see John Pertwee, they would have looked like brothers, I think. Whereas Arthur Lowe, he looks completely different. And I think he's definitely dyed his hair for this, trying to look long as sort of red hair, because I think come the end of the series he's just grey. Died in 82 at the age of 66. So really, he's only in his early 60s, late 50s here. Looks so much older than it. I mean, people they age so much better nowadays, really, don't they? If you look at them, you'd think, wouldn't you? But amazingly, stayed married to one lady through his life. Was in bit parts theatre through after the war. I started acting after the war. Was just a soldier, a private soldier, and he was in this from obviously 68 to 77. They've got the first season, which is in black and white. They recovered 3 episodes of the second season, and we don't count any of the remakes because they're nowhere near the film. The modern film was no good. The remakes they did lately were no good either. So he suffered from narcolepsy, so he would fall asleep during rehearsals. And I didn't really have anything, I suppose, a lot of coffee and that, really, back in the day. Did a couple of sitcoms, Bless Me My Father, or Bless Me Father, and Potter. But really nothing comes close to his part of Dad's Army. This is really where he came in. Did a lot of films and stuff, but probably not as much as John Le Mesurier, who's in The Green Man. I don't remember him being in The Green Man. I've watched The Green Man. Might do a movie, but it's hard for me to warble through a movie at times. Anyway, so here we go. He's taking the name, and the classic joke is coming up. You're not going to win this war. And we're doing the pantomime. Oh, yes, we are. And here goes Pike doing his silly little verse. So does Army, whistle while you work. Here we go. The classic line, don't tell him Pike. And so he's dropped him. You rotten. You can see they're trying to act this lot. They're trying to look seriously. And I think the guy behind them was in loads of Doctor Who's, Pat Gorman, in the sort of blue Uncle Arthur. They don't want to go on the list. Of course, he's always very wet because he's a very mother's boy, Pike. And of course, Arthur's Wilson there is quite soft as well. And you see Godfrey in the background there, and he's quite sort of decrepit, sort of playing the sort of. But he wrote plays. He wrote The Ghost Train. You can watch that on YouTube. It's a classic sort of go. I mean, obviously he looks shaky now, but the guy who played Godfrey there, um, Private Godfrey, was playing a sort of incontinent Arnold Ridley. It's something to do with Daisy Ridley, you know, the Star Wars girl. I think he's a great uncle or some relatives. A great niece, Daisy Ridley, Rey from Star Wars. You know, the Force Awakens and Last Jedi and all that. He's her great uncle. No family real resemblance there, but of course she's a pretty girl and he's a lady, pretty lady. And these are all sort of extras. They're not saying a lot, so I assume these are unpaid extras. So it's only Philip Maddock there he wants place instead of cod. Which I don't know. In 1940, would we be there? We'd be in rationing. Would we by then? Don't know. He wants vinegar. Essig. So Essig is salt or vinegar? The Essig must be in it, vinegar. I suppose they do look Germany, don't they, these guys? But I think that's Pat Gorman behind him there. And he was a stuntman on Doctor Who and everything else. I mean, I think you can see him in the background of most TV from the BBC in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Anyway, Private Walker there, James Beck, was great as the Spiv. Apparently, one of the writers wrote this for himself, but they said, no, that's nepotism, you can't be in it. So, anyway, Arnold Ridley finishing him, playing Private Godfrey. He wrote The Ghost Train, did Dad's Army, was a playwright, and, you know, so great actor. And James Beck, playing Private Walker, the Spiv. This is what he's best known for. He wanted to break away from it because he was typecast, meaning that they wouldn't put him in any other roles. Back then, you seemed to get stuck in your roles like Harry H. Corbett in Steptoe. They seemed to get stuck. And they'd use the period music to accentuate the period. And he died of renal failure and pancreatitis at 44. So, you know, relatively young man, heart failure. He was a drinker. And I remember reading that Ian Lavender, who plays Pike, said that he noticed him in rehearsals one day and it looked like he had a football under his t-shirt. But really that was his stomach. So he was heavily distended. And, of course, everyone drunk in the 70s. But I think he was excessive. And, you know, his legs were purple, apparently. And he looked really rough. And he was in other things. He was a great actor, but didn't do that much. Yeah, he was in Love Thy Neighbour, the film. Lots of TV. But typed, forever known, and forever will be known as Walker, the Spiv in Dad's Army. And here we are, here's the warden and the, I don't know what you call the guy with the glasses, it's something to do with the vicar. He's not the vicar, he's the vicar's helper. And this is Bill Pertwee, cousin of John Pertwee, playing the warden who was the nemesis of Arthur Lowe's Captain Mainwaring in this. And I think that they're pointing the gun at him in a symbolic way. And they were always wanting to use the hall, and the vicar, like, mind your own business, says him. Oh dear, is he pretending to have some illness, or was it the vinegar? It's my stomach. He's been having some stomach problems. And that, oh, he's the verger, but of course the warden's going to make a mistake, like a fool. He made him eat those soggy chips. I gave him the soggy chips. I think Bill Pertwee might not have died that long ago playing the warden there. Called him Napoleon, called Captain Mainwaring Napoleon. Was a good... he died in 2013, so he died a while ago, but he was on for a long time. Bit parts in a few Carry On films, Carry On Loving, Carry On Girls. That's the warden there, Carry On Your Convenience. Oh, he was cut from that. Did the old Confessions, but sort of rip-off Carry On films. He appeared in the final episode of It Ain't Half Hot Mum, and he was in an episode of Heidi High. So yeah, he carried on sort of this writing team that wrote this. Perry and Croft, or whatever they're called. They kept him in good work. But he was more of a comedic actor, obviously. Yep, a great... anyway, back to the action. So, Now, so Clive Dunn, we played Grandpa. He had a hit called Grandpa. If you want to look it up on YouTube, he had a hit. Oh, see, they're playing the old, but Clive Dunn forever playing old men, and played a role called Grandad and released a song called Grandad. I think it was a big hit in England. You probably never heard it anywhere else, but the Home Guard was out. People who are out of service, too old to actually serve in the war, but could actually um, look after the beaches, invasion from the beaches, look after the beaches and the borders of England, while all the younger men were at war, all the older men could feel useful by, re-enlisting in a way and being the Home Guard, or Dad's Army, if you will, and would look after the borders and, keep the lights burning and all that. So, but we've got a stalemate here. They've got a revolver between them. They can't get out of the office. We're holding all the trump cards. And the white flag from the Verger. The Verger was quite funny. He was a lesser part, but he did play. Who's the Verger here? Edward Sinclair is the Verger's name. Oh, and he died in 1977. So he would have made it just to the end of Dad's Army and then died of a heart attack just after he finished Panto. Didn't really do much else. Was a little more of a stage actor. Was in the Magic Christian with Ringo Starr, but like I say, not a big part. So, really just known for this. Here we got here. Yeah, so they're at a stalemate now. They're trying to. I mean, obviously, they're just standing around the background. They could have actually got stuck in, couldn't they? It doesn't look good for you, Mr. Hodges. You're going to die. And of course, we see that Mr. Hodges wasn't not a brave. We could get that. See, they're all trying to work out. It was always a farce, right? Of course, British stage farce. I mean, you could do all this now. You don't want to be black in your face, though, Jones, because we're a chimney sweep. That's all right. I didn't want to be wandering down the roads of racism there. We don't need any of that. He isn't British, he's really a German prisoner of war. Yeah, I'm not sure what the convention would have said back then about things like this, but you never know, do you? The petrified forest, making reference to ancient films. Although Humphrey Bogart, of course, and Leslie Howard. Humphrey Bogart called his daughter Leslie after Leslie Howard because he got him the part in something. There you go, a little trivia for you. Bogart's daughter was a girl, called him Leslie. And of course, I think that Arthur Lowe there's fallen asleep. And of course, Ian Lavender would turn up in another comedy called Goodnight Sweetheart, which was about a time travelling guy. He would go back to the 40s, and he would play Nicholas Lyndhurst, Gary Sparrow's son in that. He greyed early, got grey hair early. The guy playing Pike, so he would have to grease his hair down or dye it, because if you see him in Carry On Loving, which was a film, no, Carry On Behind, well, with the caravans, Windsor Davis and all that, he's in that, and you can see he's got grey hair, so he would have to sort of gel or Brill cream his hair dark to make it look dark, because he's supposed to be playing a juvenile, a young guy, which he obviously was, but he greyed really early. He was only in his 20s, and he's got grey hair. I think he was even more grey than Bill Pertwee there as warden thingy. As the warden. Now they're going to try and escape it, get him away, but of course they take control. I think the guns, I think this was all periodically right, Lee. I need my mate Gary here. He would tell me if this is all right. U-boat captain. Yeah, trying to get him out. Trying to escape, because he's in very much enemy territory. He was 22 when he took the part, Ian Lavender as Pike. And the stupid boy, always called Stupid Boy, was in the entire run. And the movie, which isn't as... I mean, the movie was maybe the original cast, but... And a tidbit there is Mannering wouldn't strip down. He would never be seen in his underwear. So when they do the march in the movie, and they're all getting their uniform, and they're slowly being dressed up, you won't see Arthur Lowe because he would never be seen less than fully dressed. I mean, he's always still with us, obviously. Born in '46, so he's in his 70s now. He was in the theatre a lot, did theatre plays, did a few movies. Did a bit in EastEnders, played, I think, Pauline Fowler's gay friend. But not much more. I mean, this is what he's remembered for. He was a cameo in the 2016 Dad's Army, but that really isn't worth. It was boring. And not a good movie. But he does great in this. And we're getting to the sort of, yeah, you can't win this war, you know. There you go, there's a reference for you. And of course, he's saying he'll win. He's the man. The Royal Navy, 25 miles. And of course, Germany never did make it across the ocean. They were always held at bay by the, not just the British, by everybody, by the Americans. And when you arrive in France, you will be my prisoners and I will get you all. And it'd be handy hot for them. And look at the list. Here we are, a bit of film, where the film stock changes. I think this is probably the only bit they filmed outside. But they've got the grenade up his back, just in case, to blow him up if he doesn't do what he's told. And of course, I've got to have Clive Dunn back, because he's a younger man playing old, so he can move quickly and jump around. He could have done it with Pike, but I think they're trying to get him to take him off the list still. Oh, and here comes the other. But you see how this is just perfect farce. And they'd film at Warmington-on-Sea or wherever doubled for it. I think they'd film a week down there, film all the bits, and then they'd move off. And there's John Laurie in the background there playing Private Fraser, who was always started off as a fisherman, and moved on to being an undertaker, which best suited is we're all doomed, we're doomed. I think they based Victor Mildred One Foot in the Grave on Private Fraser, but he didn't like it either, thought he was beneath him, all this. He would recite Shakespeare, was a great Shakespearean actor, was in Henry V with Laurence Olivier, if you ever want to watch the original film version. I think it's the original version from the 50s, 30s, the 40s, I can't remember. I think Olivier did it during the war, maybe, so as a sort of patriotic piece. Yeah. And there's John Laurie there trying to scene steal, wobbling his eyes about. Hasn't got much to do in this episode, but also hanging down. Oh no, it's all going to be blown. Oh, it's a grenade. We're going to blow him up. And of course, he's having to move about because, again, he's in his 50s, so he's still a bit mobile and he can move around. The warden there. It slipped down, it's in his breeches, or his pants. And what's Godfrey doing? Because Godfrey might want to save yourself. Oh, I'm going to stick a knife up him. I think this grenade would have gone off by now, if it was going to go off. Oh, can I borrow your revolver? And of course, this is Wilson, doing what he has to do. I mean, he's very laid back, but he still always does what he has to do in these situations. And he's recaptured them. And of course, they look like heroes again. They've done their good deed. And I don't know what he's doing. He's like doing a fucking booty call. He's shimmying up behind him. He looks really daft. We've been saved. But of course, one of the younger men could have played this. But of course, Clive Dunn being experienced of pratfalls and things like that. You can never do anything you're told. But of course, he's done the right thing. He always tends to do the right thing, Wilson, in spite of Mannering, rather than the other way around. And of course, he unprimed the hand grenades and was just waiting his chance. So of course, Wilson did the right thing for the wrong reasons. Yeah, he's caught them. And God, we're at the end already. Arthur Lowe there as the leader of the squad. I wonder where they're walking here doing this bit. Looks like Black Park. John Le Mesurier wearing his weird. Clive Dunn, made up old. Stumbling. John Laurie, the great Shakespearean actor. James Beck, a good actor. Sort of forever known for this. Arnold Ridley, the playwright, The Ghost Train. Check it out on Ian Lavender, Private Pike. Always had the scarf around to keep him warm. Bill Pertwee. Yep, you see, this was just the classic days of English comedy, BBC comedy, if you will. And if you leave a like and subscribe, then what else you want me to sort of talk over? Because we love these old BBC comedies. I know you love me doing my Only Fools, but we can only speak so much about Only Fools, can't we? So we move on to the other ones, like Dad's Army and that. We get the credit 1973. So there you go. The classic days of... so leave a like and subscribe. And a happy comment below. Let's keep it positive, people. And I hope you enjoyed my commentary on Dad's Army, The Deadly Attachment. Have a good day. I'll see you in the future. Goodbye and signing out.